Blessed are the merciful, for they shall have mercy shown them. Are you merciful? Are you? To be a Christian is to be a person of mercy. If I'm not merciful, I cannot be a Christian. It is as simple as that. I'd like to introduce you to somebody called John. Those of you at the back, you won't be able to see his face, which is a shame. Come up later and have a look at him. I met John when he was 11, and I met him in Great Ormond Street Hospital. He had been airlifted there from another hospital, and they had discovered at Great Ormond Street that he had a massive brain tumour. And it turned out that he'd attended numerous appointments in the GP and other hospitals, but unfortunately they missed it, and he was left in this situation. So when I arrived there, the medics said that they would need to immediately operate and that he would have a 50-50 chance of survival. Mum said to me, is it possible before he goes under that he makes his first Holy Communion? It transpired that the parish, the local parish priest where they lived, the family, the traveller family, as you know, many of you know, I work with travellers and gypsies across the country. The local parish priest refused to give sacraments to travellers. And unfortunately, on a couple of occasions, he even called the police when travellers turned up for Mass. And one or two of them got arrested for coming to Mass. Anyhow, John was nil by mouth, as you probably would expect. And I suggested that instead that he was confirmed. So they called the local priest who was responsible for that hospital. He didn't turn up. So I confirmed him on the spot. In an extreme situation, you can do that. And he went into surgery. Thanks be to God, he came out of surgery and stayed in Great Ormond Street for a few more weeks. And then he was transferred to another hospital, a very famous hospital, which will remain nameless. And I met with the full-time chaplain there, and I said, do keep an eye on John and his family while they're here. They're going to be here many months for treatment. Nice chap, and he said, of course I will. So a month later, I came back to visit the family to see how John was doing. And I asked Mum, have you seen the priest? She said no. And the family were there for 9 months, and they didn't get one visit on any single day. And the tradition with traveller families, as probably with most of us, who've got a gravely ill child, never left the bedside. So there was no question that they made a mistake. But not once did any priest go and visit them. After 9 months, it was clear that John was losing the battle, and he was sent home to die there. And 6 weeks before he died, I decided to call the local bishop. Not usually a good move, but I felt that given that the many hundreds, if not thousands, who live in that area of Bedfordshire where the family lived, had been deprived of sacraments for so long, I thought it would be an amazing thing for the bishop to turn up and to see John. So I rang the bishop, who you might know, a chap called Peter Doyle. And even in those days, he had a bad leg. Has he still got a bad leg? And Peter said, I can't come today, but I'll come tomorrow if that's all right. So we met in not Milton Keynes, it was Leighton Buzzard, McDonald's car park. It was like a dodgy drug deal going down. And he pulled up, and I jumped in his passenger seat, and we had a little chat. And when I told him a little more about what had been going on his patch, so to speak, I know we're live streaming, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but he cried. As any father would cry when you see your children suffer. So we went to the site and to where John and his family lived, and Peter hobbled along into the chalet where the family lived and into the tiny bedroom where John was. And Peter simply sat on the end of John's bed, as any father would, as any grandfather would. And I left them to it. I witnessed that day a real shepherd, a real pastor, a real bishop. What a real bishop, a real pastor looks like. Brothers and sisters, mercy does not involve a split-second decision to be merciful to someone. Christian mercy is different. Christian mercy is born out of an every second, every minute, every hour approach to life. Habitually, Christians reach out to the wronged, those who face injustice. Habitually, Christians also wash the feet of those who do the wrong, even if I'm the victim of the wrongdoing. And we do this mercy business lavishly, without question, without checks and balances. Is this person worth it or not? We're merciful lavishly because God is lavish with his mercy to each one of us. Bishop Peter not only visited John on that day. By the time he'd finished with John, there were about 200 people outside the chalet. And parents were pleading for baptism. Imagine it, pleading for baptism for their children. And Bishop Peter Doyle, in his shirt, straight away, no notice, no preparation, no disrespect to the preparation you've done, bless you, all of you. Straight away baptized 2 babies on that tarmac in front of the chalet. Bishop Peter, in my mind, understands what it is to be merciful. Because he understands Jesus, the true shepherd. But this vocation, brothers and sisters, doesn't just belong to Bishop Peter. It belongs to each one of us, doesn't it? To be lavish with mercy. I'm sure I couldn't tell you where in the Gospels it says, but Jesus said once, I think it might have been about one of the women he met. She who loves much is forgiven much. And that's what we're talking about here, isn't it? Mercy is just yet another way God calls us to love.